Alex Hayes hadn't thought about his ex-wife in months, not since their divorce. But tonight, as the phone rings with an urgency that cuts through the noise of his bustling office, he's forced to remember her again. And worse, he's forced to remember what he had abandoned. His son is dying, and only Alex can save him. The rain is coming down in sheets, streaking the windows of Alex's penthouse. He stands in the middle of his immaculate office, the smell of coffee lingering in the air, a constant reminder of the hours he's put into building his empire. His hand still shakes slightly from the call he just received, the one that changes everything. Alex runs a hand through his hair, trying to regain focus, but it's slipping away. The phone call had shaken him in ways he hadn't expected. His son, Lucas, the one he hadn't seen in over a year, the one he had let slip away as his focus drifted from fatherhood to boardrooms, to quarterly earnings, to business deals. Now, Lucas is in the hospital, and Alex has no idea what kind of trouble he's walking into. It's not just his son's life hanging in the balance. It's the wreckage of his past. The divorce, Catherine. The years of building walls between them until he couldn't see past his ambition. His heart clenches at the thought of her. His ex-wife, the one who had been the only thing real in his life, until he pushed her away. Now, the consequences of his inattention have come crashing back in the form of a hospital bed and a desperate plea for help. His thoughts drift to the past. How the days had been filled with so much promise, with laughter and dreams for their future. But those dreams had been replaced with silence, a silence that still hangs between them. The silence that was the final fracture of their marriage. Alex looks down at his phone, the screen dimming. The call had ended too abruptly, but there's nothing left to do but go. He grabs his coat from the back of his chair, his mind racing through all the mistakes, all the lost time. The hospital is across town, and Lucas might not have that long. The walls of his empire, the trophies of his success, suddenly feel meaningless. All that matters now is the life of the child he barely knows anymore. As Alex steps into the elevator, the weight of the past presses down on him. Catherine had kept him out of Lucas's life for so long. And now here he is, late to the game, scrambling to make things right. The drive to the hospital is a blur, and his thoughts go back to the last time he saw her. Catherine standing at the door of their home, holding their son, her face a mask of both sorrow and anger. She had warned him about this, about everything he would lose if he kept choosing work over family. He wonders, as the city blurs past him, if it's already too late. The streets of downtown Boston are slick with rain, the headlights of passing cars reflecting off the wet pavement like streaks of liquid fire. The wipers on his car struggle to keep up with the downpour, their rhythm too slow for the speed at which his mind is racing. Every thought is a jumble. His son, the hospital, Catherine. The weight of the past year presses down on him. For so long, Alex Hayes had told himself that he was doing what was best for his family, that his success, his unrelenting pursuit of power, was all for them. But now, as he races through the streets toward a hospital he never wanted to visit, he realizes just how wrong he was. He had built walls around himself to protect his ambitions, but those walls had kept him from the one thing that mattered most: his son. The phone buzzes in his pocket, dragging him from his spiraling thoughts. It's a message from Catherine. Catherine, you're still coming, right? Lucas is asking for you. The words hit him like a punch to the gut. For a moment, he can't breathe. He hasn't seen Lucas in over a year. The boy's face, those deep blue eyes that always reminded him of Catherine, feel like a distant memory. The thought of holding his son again, of being the father he should have been, feels almost out of reach. He's not sure what Catherine expects from him at this point. She hasn't trusted him with Lucas for a long time, and he's failed to prove he could be trusted again. His hands tighten on the steering wheel as the rain pelts the car's windows harder, as though the storm outside mirrors the storm inside him. A loud honk snaps him back to reality, and he swerves to avoid the car that's cut in front of him. His pulse spikes, and for a second, he wonders if he's losing his grip on everything. His phone buzzes again. Catherine. They've started the transfusion. He needs you here. The words hang heavy in the air, but they don't have the impact they once would have. They don't fill him with the rush of urgency or guilt that he'd expected. Instead, they land like a cold stone, pressing him deeper into his seat. He needs you here. Alex's breath hitches as the weight of those words settles in. Lucas needs him. But for the first time, Alex isn't sure if it's too late to make the difference he wants to. He's failed at being a father, failed at being there when it mattered. The wreckage of their relationship was a mess of broken promises and time lost. A small voice in the back of his head asks what he's going to do. Not just for Lucas, but for Catherine too. He hasn't heard her voice in over a year, hasn't seen the woman who once was the center of his world. They had been two halves of a whole, until everything fell apart. The light at the intersection turns green, snapping Alex back into the present. He presses the gas, speeding through the light, desperate to reach the hospital. The hospital looms ahead, its sterile, imposing structure shining under the rain-soaked sky. Alex parks quickly, the sound of his tires skimming across the wet pavement echoing in the otherwise silent night. As he steps out of the car, the cold air hits him like a slap. The weight of his coat offers no comfort, and the raindrops fall relentlessly, hitting his face with the kind of sting that brings clarity to a muddled mind. He forces his feet to move, toward the sliding doors of the emergency room. Inside, the hospital smells like antiseptic and faintly of coffee. The bright fluorescent lights buzz overhead, the cold steel of the floor and walls amplifying the sense of detachment that Alex feels as he walks through the sterile hallways. This is the place where he's felt most disconnected from everything, the place he should have been, the place he hadn't visited enough. He walks past the front desk, barely sparing the receptionist a glance, and heads straight for the elevators. His mind is focused on one thing: Lucas. He can't afford to mess this up. Not again. The elevator doors open with a soft ding, and Alex steps inside, his reflection staring back at him from the polished metal walls. He looks older than the last time he was here. The lines on his face a reminder of the year he's lost. He's still the man who runs a billion-dollar company, the man who commands a room with nothing but his presence. But standing here, in this moment, he's no longer sure who he is. The elevator doors open on the pediatric floor, and Alex steps out. It's quiet here, too quiet for a hospital. The hallway is lined with rooms that are dimly lit, the faint hum of machines the only sound. He spots a nurse down the hall and walks toward her, his heart pounding in his chest. His footsteps echo in the hallway as he approaches, and she looks up, her face neutral, but not unkind. "Mr. Hayes?" she asks, her voice soft. "They're expecting you. Your son is in room 402. His stomach tightens. His son. Lucas. The words feel foreign coming from someone else's mouth. He nods silently, following the nurse as she leads him down the hall. Every step feels like a weight dragging him deeper into the memories he's tried to avoid. As they reach room 402, the nurse stops and gestures for him to enter. "You can go in, but the doctors are still working." Alex nods again, pushing the door open. The room is dimly lit, the sound of beeping machines filling the silence. His eyes land on Lucas immediately. The boy is pale, his small form lying in a hospital bed, tubes and wires connected to him, his chest rising and falling with the rhythm of a ventilator. The soft glow of the monitor reflects in his eyes, which are closed, his face pale and still. Alex steps forward, his heart clenching at the sight of his son. So small, so fragile, and yet the same boy who had once laughed in his arms. The reality of his situation crashes down on him. He reaches out, his fingers brushing the side of Lucas's face, but he's unsure if it's the right thing to do. He hasn't been the father he promised to be. He hasn't been there. Hasn't seen the little boy who used to look up at him with wide, trusting eyes. His thoughts are interrupted by the soft click of the door behind him. He turns, and Catherine stands in the doorway, her eyes swollen from crying, her face strained and exhausted. Her gaze lands on him, and for a moment, the air is thick with everything they've never said. Alex opens his mouth to speak, but no words come out. What can he say after everything? After all the time he's lost, after all the hurt he's caused. She steps into the room, her movements slow, almost as if she's not entirely sure how to be here with him again. "You made it," she says, her voice quiet, but not cold. It's a statement, a fact, nothing more. "I'm sorry," Alex manages to say. The words feel weak, even to him, but they're all he has. She doesn't answer at first. Instead, she walks over to Lucas's bedside, her hand gently brushing the boy's hair. Alex watches her, wondering how they've come to this. Two strangers standing in a room together, sharing the same love for the child who lies in front of them. They had been everything once, and now they are two people who barely know how to speak to each other. "Why didn't you tell me?" Alex asks, the words coming out more harshly than he intended. "About Lucas, his condition. I had a right to know." Catherine looks up at him, her eyes sharp despite the exhaustion. "You made your choice, Alex," she replies. "You chose your career over your family. And when I needed you most, you weren't there. Lucas needs a father, but I couldn't keep waiting for you to figure that out." Alex feels the sting of her words, the truth they carry. He's been too focused on everything else to see what really mattered. "I never wanted to be the man who wasn't there for him," Alex says, his voice rough. "But I failed." Catherine doesn't respond, but the silence between them speaks volumes. In this moment, Alex realizes just how much he has to atone for. It's not just about Lucas's health, it's about rebuilding trust and maybe, in time, healing the broken pieces of their family. The tension between Alex and Catherine lingers in the room as they stand side by side, their eyes both on Lucas. For the first time in months, Alex feels the weight of his mistakes pressing down on him. The realization that his empire means nothing without the love of the family he abandoned. But now, in the sterile quiet of the hospital room, Alex makes a decision. He won't leave again. He won't lose his son twice. And this time, he'll do whatever it takes to rebuild the pieces of their broken family. The hum of the machines fills the room, punctuated by the soft beep of the monitor connected to Lucas. Alex stands in the corner, watching his son, his chest tight with the weight of everything unsaid. Catherine is sitting beside the bed, her hand resting lightly on Lucas's pale arm. She doesn't look at him, and Alex wonders if it's easier that way. If silence between them is somehow the only way to bridge the distance that stretched between them for over a year. But the truth is, silence is what got them here in the first place. Alex takes a slow step forward, the sound of his shoes muffled by the sterile floor. Lucas's small form is barely recognizable, lost in the tubes and wires that snake across his body. The boy who had once smiled up at him with a face full of innocence is now a fragile shell, his chest rising and falling too fast. His skin is too pale, too still. His blood pressure's still low, Catherine says, her voice soft but filled with an edge of frustration. They're doing everything they can. But his blood type, it's so rare, Alex. He needs someone who matches, and we don't have that. Alex clenches his jaw, trying to process the weight of her words. He's not just dealing with the cold, mechanical nature of a hospital. He's dealing with something that feels far more personal. Lucas isn't just a patient on a bed. He's his son, his flesh and blood. And all the time he'd missed, time he can never get back, seems to collapse around him now, a crushing reminder of all that he's failed to do. Have the doctors said anything more specific about what's happening? Alex asks, his voice strained, though he can barely force the words out. He's not sure what he's asking. He's not sure what he wants to hear. They can't do much more until they find a donor. If they don't, they'll have to try alternative methods, and the chances of success aren't great. Catherine's eyes flicker up at him then, and for a split second, Alex sees a flicker of something familiar. The woman he had once known. The vulnerability that was hidden beneath her hard shell. The part of her that always carried the weight of her love for Lucas with quiet grace. But then she looks away again, breaking the connection between them. Alex nods, though it feels like the world is slipping beneath his feet. This isn't just about Lucas's illness. This is about everything he's lost in the process, the years he's missed out on being a part of his son's life, the moments he could have shared with Catherine, the small, fragile life that is now on the line because of his negligence. I'm going to help him, Alex says, his voice firm despite the turmoil inside him. Catherine doesn't respond, but her fingers tighten around the edge of Lucas's blanket, as if she's afraid of what might happen next. Just then, the door opens quietly, and Dr. Williams, a young doctor with dark-rimmed glasses and a calm demeanor, enters the room. She's holding a clipboard, her expression focused but not unkind. "Mr. Hayes," she says, acknowledging him with a nod. "I'm glad you're here. I'm Dr. Williams. We've been monitoring Lucas closely, but the situation is critical." Alex stands straighter, trying to pull himself together, though every fiber of his being is on edge. "Tell me what's happening. What's wrong with him?" Dr. Williams gives a small sigh and gestures toward Lucas. "Lucas has a rare blood disorder. We've known about it for some time, but his condition has worsened. He's been fighting it for longer than anyone realized, and unfortunately, it's caught up with him. We need a blood donor, someone with the same blood type to help stabilize him. Without it, his organs will start to fail. It's as simple as that." Alex feels like he's been punched in the gut. The air around him grows thick, and for a moment, it's hard to breathe. The sound of his own heartbeat fills his ears. "I didn't know," Alex mutters, his voice barely audible. "I didn't know it was this serious." Catherine turns to look at him then, her expression cold but resolute. "I didn't think you needed to know," she says quietly. "I thought it would be better this way, keeping you out of it, keeping you out of Lucas's life." Alex opens his mouth to protest, but the words get caught in his throat. The truth is, he doesn't know what to say. Catherine's decision, though painful, makes sense in a way. She had tried to protect Lucas, even if it meant doing it without him. "I'm sorry," Alex whispers, though the apology feels insufficient. He's not sure if he's apologizing to her or to his son. Dr. Williams speaks again, pulling him back into the present. "We're running out of time. Lucas's fever is continuing to spike, and unless we find a suitable blood donor, he's not going to make it." "Then find one," Alex says, his voice steady, though his heart is racing. "I'll help you. I'll find a match. I'll do whatever it takes." Dr. Williams looks at him carefully, her eyes narrowing slightly as if measuring the sincerity of his words. "We've been looking for a match, but it's a long shot. If you're serious, there is one other option, but it's unorthodox." Alex tilts his head. "What's the other option?" "A blood transfusion from a direct family member," Dr. Williams says. "You, Mr. Hayes?" Alex's stomach drops. He looks over at Catherine, whose expression has hardened even further. She says nothing, but the silent tension between them thickens. "I don't know if I'm a match," Alex says slowly. "How can you be sure?" "We've run some preliminary tests," Dr. Williams replies. "We're fairly certain you're a match. If you're willing, we can proceed." Alex's mind spins. The reality of what she's saying hits him hard. His blood, literally, is the key to saving his son. For a moment, he's paralyzed by the enormity of it all. He's being asked to give a part of himself, literally, to redeem himself for a year of neglect. "I'll do it," he says finally, his voice unwavering. Catherine looks at him, a mixture of disbelief and something else in her eyes. Alex doesn't care. He's here now, and he won't leave again. As Alex walks toward the treatment room, his thoughts race through the past year. He had let business and pride control him, letting everything slip through his fingers. But this moment, right here, this blood transfusion, it's his chance to finally show his son that he's here, that he won't abandon him again. He may have lost a year, but he won't lose Lucas now. The sterile smell of the hospital lingers in Alex's nostrils, mixing with the faint metallic scent of blood from the transfusion that had just been completed. His hands still feel heavy, despite the warmth that now flows through his son's fragile body. It's a strange sensation. Being here, in this place of pain, of healing, and of reconciliation. Lucas is still unconscious, his small chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. Catherine sits beside him, her face a mask of exhaustion. Yet she still looks over at him every few seconds. Her gaze is heavy, filled with the burden of their past. Alex's eyes wander to the clock on the wall. Time is moving forward, but every second feels like it's stretching, pressing in on him. He looks down at his hands, clenched tightly at his sides. His blood runs through his son's veins now, a connection he's never felt so strongly. But it doesn't feel like enough. Not yet. "I wasn't there," Alex murmurs, mostly to himself. His words fall in the silence of the room, and though no one answers, he feels the weight of them between him and Catherine. "You never were," Catherine replies quietly, her voice flat. She doesn't look at him when she says it. Not when it mattered. The silence between them stretches longer now. But Alex doesn't back down. He hasn't been the father he should have been. He hasn't been the man he promised to be when he and Catherine first started building their life together. And now, all he's left with is this broken room, filled with memories of things unsaid, of actions never taken. It's a moment Alex hasn't thought about in years, but now it floods his mind, unbidden. The summer before everything started falling apart. He and Catherine had been in the kitchen of their home, laughter echoing off the walls as they made dinner together. Lucas had been younger then, a small toddler, toddling around the kitchen as they both worked to set the table. The soft hum of a happy home filled the space. "Do you think we're doing this right?" Catherine had asked as she placed the last plate on the table, a small smile on her lips. Alex had laughed and pulled her closer, kissing her forehead. "Of course," he'd said confidently. "We've got everything we need." At the time, it had seemed so simple. Alex had felt certain everything in his life was finally coming together. His career, his family, the promise of the future. He didn't know then that those moments would become the last of their kind. The last time he would ever feel so confident in his choices. But as the days turned to months and his obsession with work intensified, the cracks had begun to show. Catherine had begged him to come home earlier, to spend more time with Lucas. But Alex had kept pushing those concerns aside, telling her it was all for their future. But deep down, Catherine had started to believe he wasn't coming back. Catherine's voice snaps Alex out of the memory. "You didn't just miss Lucas growing up, Alex. You missed everything. Our family, our marriage. You didn't even see me anymore." He swallows hard, the weight of her words crashing over him like a cold wave. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," she replies. "It's too late for words." Her gaze finally meets his, her eyes darkened by a mixture of pain and anger. "I'm not blaming you, Alex. I'm blaming myself for letting you do it, for letting you slip away from us. I thought if I kept things together, kept Lucas in his world and let you focus on yours, we could somehow make it work. But it didn't. It only made it worse." Alex feels his chest tighten. The distance between them feels insurmountable now. Every word Catherine says is a reminder of how far they've drifted, of all the lost moments that can never be recovered. "I never wanted to be the man who didn't see his son grow up," Alex says, his voice low. "But I became him. I became the man who thought he could fix everything with money and power." Catherine sighs, running a hand through her hair. "You can't fix this with money, Alex. Not this. Not us." The words land with a finality that cuts through him. But he knows she's right. He can't change the past. He can't undo the years he lost. The only thing he can do now is show Lucas that he's here, that he's never going to walk away again. He might never earn Catherine's forgiveness, but he has to fight for his son. He owes him that much. "I'll do whatever it takes to make this right," Alex says, his voice steady but filled with raw emotion. "I'll be here for him, Catherine. I'll be the father he deserves." Catherine doesn't respond immediately. She looks at him, her expression unreadable. The silence stretches on. But for the first time, it's not filled with anger or regret. It's filled with the quiet understanding that maybe, just maybe, there's still a chance to rebuild. Finally, she nods, her shoulders sagging with the weight of the moment. "I'm not asking for anything, Alex. You just need to show up for him. That's all." As the hours pass, the hospital room grows quieter. Lucas's vitals are stable for now. But the stillness of the room presses down on Alex, suffocating him. The past is a heavy burden, and every part of him wants to turn away from it, to forget it all and focus only on the future. But he knows he can't. The truth is, the past isn't something that can be ignored or buried. It will follow him until he faces it head on. Alex steps outside the room for a moment, needing air, needing space to think. His phone buzzes again. It's a message from his assistant, something about a merger proposal that needs his attention. He stares at it for a long moment before swiping it away. his mind already miles away from business. His eyes fall on the photo hanging on the wall outside the room. It's a picture of a family. Him, Catherine, and Lucas, smiling together at a beach. The memory feels so distant, like it belonged to someone else. He reaches for his phone again, tapping in the number he's been avoiding for so long. The call connects almost immediately. "Lara," Alex says, his voice low but firm. "I need to know what I can do. I need to make sure Lucas has everything he needs, and I don't care what it costs." "Alex?" Lara's voice crackles through the phone. "What happened? I thought you were taking care of the merger details." "This is more important," Alex interrupts, his voice strained. "I'll handle the business later. Right now, it's about Lucas. I don't know what's next, but I need your help." Lara hesitates, but she knows better than to argue with him. "I'll see what I can do," she says. "But you need to understand, this won't be easy. People are watching. It's not just about blood anymore. There are people who want something from you. From Lucas." Alex's jaw tightens. "I don't care. I'll protect him, no matter what." As Alex hangs up the phone, the weight of his words lingers. This isn't just about his son's health anymore. This is about his entire future, his son's future. He's finally realized something he should have known all along. He's not the CEO of Hales Enterprises right now. He's a father. And no matter what it takes, he's going to protect his son. Alex stands in the doorway, his hand resting on the cold metal frame. The sterile, flickering lights overhead seem to mock the turbulence inside his chest. He's just left Lucas and Catherine behind, though the tension between them still hangs thick in the air, pulling at him from all sides. The moment he thought he could find solace in being there for his son, he's confronted with his own history, a history he can no longer avoid. The silence of the hallway is deafening. Alex knows deep down that this is where it all began. The fractured relationship with his own father had shaped him into the man he is now, a man who pursued power at the cost of everything else. A man who thought he could fix everything with ambition, only to lose the things that truly mattered. And now, with Lucas in critical condition, Alex is faced with the question that has haunted him for years. Is he capable of confronting the man who walked out on him all those years ago? He runs a hand through his hair, feeling the weight of the decision. The answer seems simple. Just find him. But deep down, he knows it's not. Finding his father means reopening wounds that have festered for too long. Wounds he's never been able to fully heal. But if there's one thing Alex Hayes is used to, it's making the impossible happen. And this, for the sake of his son, is the most important thing he's ever had to do. His mind drifts to Catherine's words earlier, how she had reminded him of everything he had abandoned. His gaze lingers on the phone in his hand, the number he never thought he would dial again. The number that will bring him face to face with the man he has spent years hating. Lara's voice crackles through the line when he calls her. "You're still looking for him, aren't you?" "I don't have a choice anymore," Alex replies, his voice firm. "Lucas needs a match. If my father is the only one who can save him, then I need you to help me find him." Lara's silence lingers for a moment before she answers, her voice quiet. "I thought you'd never want to see him again." "I don't. But this is bigger than all that. It's about Lucas." Lara sighs, the sound heavy with the weight of knowing how much Alex has been holding on to over the years. "I'll do what I can. But you need to be prepared. Your father doesn't exactly keep a low profile, and he's not exactly someone who will be happy to see you. Alex's grip tightens on the phone, but his resolve doesn't waver. I'm not asking for his approval. I'm asking for his blood. The search takes Alex across town, deeper into the parts of Boston he's long avoided. The city that had once felt like home now feels cold and unfamiliar, each street a reminder of how far he's drifted from the life he once had. The wealthy suburbs, the boardrooms, the glass towers, they all fade as he moves further into the city's shadows, to places he's never had to visit. Lara's contacts have been invaluable, though the trail is old, and his father's whereabouts are anything but clear. He follows each lead with a growing sense of urgency, the clock ticking down with every minute that passes. Lucas is still in critical condition. Every hour that slips away is another moment his son might not have. Finally, after hours of chasing dead ends, Lara calls him back with news. He's in Nantucket, she says, her voice tinged with exhaustion. You're not going to like it, but that's where he's been hiding. Nantucket. The name sits in Alex's chest like a stone. It's the place where his father had left him, the place where he disappeared without so much as a goodbye. The thought of facing him there, in the same place that had once symbolized the end of their relationship, makes Alex feel like the ground is crumbling beneath him. I'll head there now, Alex says, his voice clipped. You sure you're ready for this? Lara asks, knowing the answer. I don't have a choice. The ferry ride to Nantucket feels longer than it should. The sea air is cold, biting at his skin, and the boat lurches with every wave. Alex leans over the railing, staring at the churning water below. His father, a man who had once been a towering figure in his life, is now a shadow in his memory. He doesn't know what he expects to find when he finally faces him, but he knows that the past cannot be buried any longer. The docks of Nantucket are quiet, almost deserted, as Alex steps off the boat. He takes a deep breath, the familiar scent of salt water and wood filling his lungs, and begins walking toward the house. The streets are narrow, the buildings aged and weathered by the sea. The very air here soaked with memories. The house is a secluded property on the outskirts of town, hidden behind a line of tall trees. It's not the mansion Alex had imagined. Instead, it's modest, run down even, a far cry from the power and wealth his father had once wielded. When Alex knocks on the door, it opens slowly, revealing a man he hasn't seen in years. His father's face is older now, lines of age carved deep into his skin, but there's still that same coldness in his eyes. Alex's heart stutters at the sight of him, a flood of emotions, anger, resentment, and a deep, aching sorrow rushing to the surface. Alex, his father says, his voice rough with age but still tinged with authority. I didn't expect to see you again. Lucas needs you, Alex replies, his voice steady, but every word feels like a weight on his chest. I need your help. You're the only one who can save him. His father's gaze hardens. So this is about him, is it? Not about me. Not about the fact that I walked away from you all those years ago. Alex's jaw tightens. I don't care about that anymore. What I care about is my son. A long pause follows. His father steps back, allowing Alex to enter the house. The silence between them is thick. But Alex knows he has to get through this if there's any chance of saving Lucas. I'll help, his father says finally, his voice cold but resolute. But you need to understand something, Alex. This isn't about fixing the past. This is about saving your son. Alex nods, knowing that this is the first step. He hasn't just come here for a blood transfusion. He's come here to face the ghosts of his past, to try and make peace with the man who left him broken, all those years ago. As Alex and his father walk together to the small clinic in Nantucket where the transfusion will take place, Alex realizes that this is the moment when everything changes. The man he once resented is now the key to his son's survival. And for the first time in years, Alex feels a flicker of something. Maybe hope, maybe redemption. But he knows one thing for sure. He's not walking away again. The clinic is small, tucked away in a quiet corner of Nantucket. It's the kind of place you might miss if you weren't looking for it. A humble structure that stands in stark contrast to the world Alex has built. The waiting room is empty, the air thick with the sterile scent of antiseptic. There's no grandeur here, no polished marble floors or sleek glass walls. It's a place for people who need something simple: help. Alex stands at the entrance, his father by his side, their presence an odd juxtaposition of two men from very different worlds. His father is dressed in weathered clothes, the kind that carry years of hard labor, while Alex's tailored suit seems out of place here, as if it's still holding on to an identity he's trying to let go of. "I'm not sure why I'm doing this," Alex mutters, his voice tight with the weight of everything that has led him here. "Why I'm asking you for help." His father looks at him, his expression unreadable. "You didn't want to ask, but now you don't have a choice. Your son needs this, and I'm the only one who can give it to him." Alex can't deny the truth of his father's words. He's never felt more vulnerable standing here in this small clinic, relying on the very man who abandoned him to save his son. It feels like some cruel twist of fate, like the universe is mocking him, asking him to face the past in a way he never wanted to. "I didn't know what I was missing until it was too late," Alex admits, his voice softer now. "I didn't realize how much I lost by pushing everything else away. You were right all those years ago. I thought I could fix it with work, with power. But I couldn't." His father's gaze softens slightly, though his face remains hard. "It doesn't matter what's behind you, Alex. What matters is what's ahead. This isn't about us. This is about your son. And you're here now. That's enough." Alex takes a deep breath. His father's words resonate with him in a way that's difficult to explain. There's a painful truth in them. The past is gone, and nothing can change it. What matters now is the future. His son's future. The doctor steps into the room with a clipboard, pulling Alex back into the present. His father sits across the room, his arms crossed, his body language closed off, as always. But Alex can't focus on him right now. His attention is entirely on Lucas. The boy is still unconscious, his small chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. But he's pale, frail. The sight of him is enough to bring Alex to his knees, but he forces himself to stand tall. He can't break now, not when his son needs him more than ever. "Are you ready for the transfusion?" the doctor asks, looking between Alex and his father. "This won't take long. We'll start with the blood test to confirm the match, and then we'll proceed." Alex nods, though the anxiety gnawing at his gut threatens to overtake him. This is it. This is the moment where everything hinges. If the transfusion works, Lucas will stabilize, and they can begin the long road to recovery. If it doesn't, they'll be left with few options. His father stands, his face unreadable as he prepares to give the blood. Alex feels his heart race in his chest. This is it. This is his chance to not just save his son's life, but to somehow make peace with the man who has haunted him for years. As the blood is drawn, Alex stands by Lucas's side, watching his son's tiny form and praying silently that everything will be okay. The hours feel like they stretch on forever, The steady beeping of the monitor, a reminder that every second counts. When the procedure is over, Alex lets out a long breath, his body shaking with the release of tension. He looks over at his father, who is sitting back in the chair, his face weary but steady. For a moment, they just stare at each other. Neither of them says a word. There's nothing left to say. Alex feels the burden of all their years apart, the unspoken words, the guilt, the anger. But for the first time, he feels a flicker of something else. It's not forgiveness. Not yet. But it's the beginning of something new. Something that's not about power or pride, but about simply being there when it matters. As the sun begins to set over Nantucket, Alex feels the weight of everything that's happened in the last few days. The phone calls, the hospital visits, the confrontation with his father, it's all led him here, to this moment. And though the future is uncertain, he knows one thing for sure. He's not walking away this time. Not from his son, not from his family. Catherine hasn't spoken much since the transfusion, but she's still here, still by Lucas's side. There's something about her quiet presence that calms him, though the silence between them speaks volumes. He knows they can never go back to what they were, but he's determined to make something new. For Lucas. For them. His father steps into the room, his face somber but not unkind. "You've done the hard part," he says, his voice gruff. "Now you just have to wait." Alex looks at him, his gaze steady. "I'm not going anywhere." For the first time, his father nods in approval. It's a small gesture, but it means more than Alex can put into words. As Alex sits by Lucas's side, the room growing darker with the coming night. He wonders what the future will hold. The road ahead won't be easy. It never is. But for the first time in years, Alex feels like he's heading in the right direction. Not toward an empire, not toward wealth or power, but toward the family he once lost. And for the first time, he feels a glimmer of hope. The steady hum of the hospital room is broken only by the occasional beep of the machines monitoring Lucas. Catherine has hardly left his side, her exhaustion apparent, but there's an unspoken understanding between them now. A fragile bridge being built between two people who have learned, the hard way, how to survive without each other. But the quiet peace they've found, however brief, is interrupted by a call that Alex knows he can't ignore. His phone buzzes, and as he glances at the screen, a name he hasn't seen in a while flashes across it. Jeremy Foster, his right-hand man in the company. Alex knows the message is clear. His world outside this hospital room is waiting for him to come back, to fix the mess that's brewing in his absence. "Mr. Hayes, the board is in an uproar," Jeremy says, his voice tight with urgency. "We need you here. We're losing market share, and the merger negotiations are at a critical point." Alex runs a hand through his hair, trying to focus despite the fog of his own emotions. "I told you. Nothing happens without me for the next few days. I'm dealing with my son's health right now. This is bigger than any deal we're negotiating." There's a brief pause on the other end of the line. "I understand, sir, but your presence is needed. The competition is circling, and the investors are starting to ask questions. This is your company, your legacy. You can't just step away." Alex looks across the room, his gaze shifting to Lucas, who is still resting, his small body connected to the steady stream of fluids that are keeping him alive. He can't just step away. "Let them ask questions," Alex says, his voice hardening. "The only question I care about right now is whether my son survives. I'll handle the business later." But the weight of his words feels hollow, even to him. The truth is, the world he's built, a world of power and influence, of negotiations and cutthroat business deals, is still there, pulling at him, trying to drag him back. He can't ignore it forever, no matter how much he wants to. You're going to have to come back eventually, Jeremy presses. The board will want you back in charge, Alex. And if we're going to win this fight, we need you to come back, now. The phone call ends, leaving Alex with a sense of unease that he can't shake. He looks over at Catherine, who hasn't noticed him staring. She's sitting by Lucas's side, her hand resting gently on his son's, her eyes distant, lost in her own thoughts. Her silence is loud, louder than any argument they've ever had, louder than the 1,000 things left unsaid between them. Alex can't help but think of the man he used to be. The man who wouldn't have hesitated to pick up the phone, to dive back into the chaos of the business world, but the man he is now. The father who almost lost his son because he was too busy with empire building knows better. He knows that whatever happens in the boardrooms, whatever mergers and acquisitions unfold, none of it will matter if he doesn't get this right, if he doesn't make it right with his son. But even as he thinks it, he feels the familiar pull of his old life. The empire he's built doesn't go away just because his son is sick. The company is bleeding money. Rival companies are circling, ready to pounce on every mistake, every misstep. The business world doesn't stop, even when your world is falling apart. And Alex knows that, better than anyone. Hours later, after the tension between him and Catherine has only grown, Alex receives an unexpected visit. It's not a doctor, not a nurse, but a familiar face. Lara, his lawyer. She steps into the room with an air of quiet authority, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. There's something different in her expression, though. Something that makes Alex pause. She looks conflicted, but there's a sharpness in her eyes that says she's not here to talk about Lucas. "Lara?" Alex asks, his voice weary. "What are you doing here?" "I came to talk about the company," she says, her voice low but direct. "I know what's happening, Alex, and I know what it's costing you. The board is pressuring you to return. They're worried about the stock price. The competition is moving in fast. If you don't act quickly, everything you've built could come crumbling down. But there's something else you should know." Alex straightens in his chair, his mind snapping into focus. "What are you talking about?" "I've been approached by someone," Lara says, her tone carefully neutral. "Someone who wants to help. They're willing to step in, to take over the operations of the company for a while, to stabilize things. You don't have to return immediately. You could focus on your family, on Lucas." Alex feels his heart skip a beat. "Who is it?" She hesitates, her eyes flickering briefly to Catherine, who is still sitting beside Lucas. "It's someone with resources, a financier. They have the power to help you right the ship, to give you time." Alex shakes his head. "I don't want anyone else in my company." "I understand," Lara says quickly, "but you need to think long term. The company isn't just a part of you, it is you. And right now, your son needs you. I don't think you'll get a better offer than this. You don't have to choose between your family and your business, not if you let them help." Alex stares at her, his mind racing. Part of him wants to reject the offer outright. He's never been one to let anyone take control, never been one to step back and relinquish authority. But another part of him, the part that's been buried for so long, feels the pull of Lara's words. Lara leaves soon after, her departure leaving Alex in a spiral of uncertainty. His phone buzzes again with a message from Jeremy. The board is asking for a meeting. They need answers. As the evening drifts into night, the weight of his decision presses down on him. He sits alone in the hospital room, his gaze flicking between the machines and the empty chair beside him, where Catherine had sat, now gone to rest. The world outside is still moving, his business, his empire, everything he built. But inside this room, the only thing that matters is Lucas. Alex knows that no matter what happens, no matter the decisions he has to make, the battles he has to fight, he can't lose this fight. He can't lose his family again. As the night deepens, Alex makes a choice. The world will wait. His son's life and his family's future is worth far more than any deal he's been offered. He'll take control of his family first and the business second. It's time to learn what really matters. The world outside the hospital windows seems so distant to Alex. The lights of Boston twinkle in the night like a far-off dream, a world that's both his and not his. The busy streets, the crowded boardrooms, the ruthless investors, they all seem so irrelevant now. Everything in his life has led him here, to this quiet room with Lucas, to the fractured relationship with Catherine, and to the realization that the life he's been living was never as important as the one he's been missing. It's late when Catherine returns to the room, her eyes red-rimmed from exhaustion. She's been on the phone for hours, likely trying to hold the world together outside the sterile walls of the hospital. Alex knows that she hasn't been able to let go, just like he hasn't. But something about tonight feels different. A shift in the air. A quiet understanding between them. Unspoken, but felt. Maybe it's the fact that they're both seeing the truth for what it is. They've been given a second chance. Not just for Lucas, but for themselves. Alex stands as Catherine enters, his eyes meeting hers. She hesitates for a moment, then walks over to Lucas's bedside. Her hand gently brushes Lucas's cheek, a soft touch, filled with more love than Alex has seen in a long time. "How's he doing?" Catherine asks, her voice hoarse. Alex takes a slow breath, trying to read the signs in Lucas's condition. The monitors beep steadily now, the color returning to his son's cheeks. It's a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. "Better," Alex says quietly. "The transfusion worked. He's stabilizing." Catherine exhales a shaky breath, looking at Alex for the first time with a rawness that cuts through him. There's something in her eyes, a quiet plea, a mix of relief and fear. "I was so scared, Alex," she says softly. "So scared I might lose him." Alex feels his heart tighten in his chest. He walks over to Catherine, standing beside her. She doesn't look up at him, but the tension between them is palpable. "I know," he says simply. "I was too." The quiet between them deepens. The weight of their past hangs heavy, but there's something else there now. A possibility. A hope. "I don't know what's next," Catherine says, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I can't do this alone." Alex looks at her, really looks at her for the first time in a long time. He knows that nothing is ever going to be the same. Their marriage may never be the same. But right now, it doesn't matter. What matters is that they're here. They're together. For Lucas. For this moment. For a future they never thought they would get. "I'm not going anywhere," Alex says firmly, his hand gently touching hers. "I'm not running away again. Not from you and not from him." Catherine turns to look at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of disbelief and cautious hope. "Do you mean that?" "I do," Alex replies, his voice steady. "I'm going to be here, whatever it takes. For Lucas. For us." There's a long pause, and then Catherine nods, her expression softening. It's not forgiveness, not yet. But it's a step. It's a chance. And that's more than Alex ever thought he would get. The next few days pass in a blur. Alex stays by Lucas's side, working in the hospital room between moments of quiet, watching as his son recovers. The steady beep of the machines becomes a rhythm, a reminder that everything, every moment, is fragile. He hasn't been to the office in days. The board continues to send messages, demanding answers, pressing for him to return. But he hasn't answered. He's made his decision. For once in his life, he's putting family first. Lara calls him again, and the familiar weight of the business world settles in his chest. He knows what she's going to say, but he has to hear it. "Alex," she begins, her voice cautious. "The board is getting restless. They're not going to wait forever." "I'm not going back," Alex replies, his voice unwavering. "I'm not putting my company above my family anymore. I've done that for too long." "You can't just walk away from it all," Lara says, her voice tight. "You built that empire. You can't just leave it behind. What about your legacy?" Alex feels a flicker of old emotions, ambition, pride, the need to prove himself. He's worked his whole life to build this legacy, to prove he was worthy of success. But now, in this room with Lucas, the question feels insignificant. "My legacy," Alex says quietly, "is my son. That's what I've learned. Nothing else matters." Lara is silent for a moment. "I see," she says finally, her voice resigned. "Well, I'll do what I can to keep things afloat. But you need to know, Alex, the competition isn't just going to stop because you decided to take a step back." "I know," Alex says, the weight of her words settling in. "But I've already lost too much to let it slip through my fingers again." He hangs up the phone, his thoughts turning inward. For the first time, he truly understands what Lara means. The world outside won't stop for him. The competition won't wait. But the difference is that he doesn't have to be the one running anymore. He's chosen a different path, a different future. Just as Alex is about to leave the hospital for the night, a familiar figure appears in the doorway. Roman Hale. The billionaire mogul and Alex's longtime business rival has a reputation for showing up unannounced, and tonight is no different. He walks into the room, his black coat draped over his shoulders, his eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses, even though it's well past dusk. His presence fills the room even before he speaks. "You're still here," Roman says, his voice a low drawl. "I figured you'd be long gone by now, running back to your empire." Alex meets his gaze, standing taller despite the tension that rises in his chest. Roman has been the man who always embodied everything Alex used to strive for: control, power, success above all else. But now, with his son in the room, he's no longer intimidated by the man. "I'm not leaving," Alex replies simply. "Not now, not again." Roman chuckles, a sound that's both cynical and knowing. "I see. You've finally decided what matters. Too bad it took this long. You're not the first man to learn that lesson." Alex's eyes narrow slightly. "Why are you here, Roman?" Roman sets a small envelope on the table, his expression unreadable. "I've been following your little crisis. I thought you'd want to know. I've taken care of things with your board. They'll leave you alone, for now." Alex stares at the envelope, his mind racing. What does that mean? "It means you can breathe easy," Roman says with a smirk. "I've made sure no one's going to bother you. I don't need a weakened competitor after all." Alex feels a mix of gratitude and something darker, resentment, perhaps, that Roman is still playing games, still trying to control everything, even when it's no longer his to control. "Thanks, I guess," Alex says, his voice tight. "But I'm not the one running the show anymore." Roman's smile falters slightly. "Maybe not. But don't think you can ignore the world outside forever." "Watch me," Alex replies quietly, the weight of his decision pressing down on him. The road ahead won't be easy, but it's the road he's chosen. For his son. For his family. As Roman leaves the room, Alex's mind clears. For the first time, he feels like he's on the right path. The decisions he makes from here on out will define him, not as a businessman, but as a father. And that's all he needs to focus on now. The morning light spills into the hospital room, casting long shadows across the floor. Alex stands at the window, looking out at the city. But his mind is elsewhere. On Lucas, on Catherine, and on the life he's building in the aftermath of everything that's happened. The world outside continues its relentless march. But here, in this room, time seems to stand still. Lucas is finally awake, though he's still weak, his body recovering from the trauma of the past week. Alex watches as his son stirs, his small hand reaching for the soft light spilling through the window. It's a simple gesture, but it's a moment of connection, a moment of hope. Catherine is asleep in the chair beside the bed, her face tired but peaceful. Alex hasn't seen her this at ease in a long time. There's a quiet kind of peace between them now, one that doesn't come from words, but from shared experience. A kind of understanding that transcends everything else. Alex feels a gentle pressure on his chest, the weight of the last few days settling in. He knows he's not out of the woods yet. He still has a lifetime of mistakes to make up for. But this moment, this small, fragile moment, feels like the beginning of something new. He turns away from the window and walks over to Lucas. The boy's eyes are open now, the familiar blue depths that have always reminded Alex of Catherine. His heart swells as their gazes meet, a connection deeper than anything he's ever known. "Hey, buddy," Alex says softly, his voice rough with emotion. "How are you feeling?" Lucas blinks slowly, his lips curling into a small, tired smile. "I'm okay, Dad." Alex's chest tightens. It's a small thing, a simple thing, but it feels like the world has shifted. "Good," Alex says, swallowing the lump in his throat. "You're going to be just fine, kiddo. We've got a long road ahead, but we'll get there together." Lucas nods, though his small hand still grips Alex's tightly. There's a silent promise in that touch, a promise that Alex is finally ready to keep. The door to the room creaks open, and Catherine stirs, her eyes fluttering open. She looks at Alex, then at Lucas, her expression softening. She doesn't speak immediately, but there's a quiet understanding between them. For the first time in a long time, there are no walls between them, no barriers to the things they've left unsaid. Alex steps back to give Catherine space, and she moves to Lucas's side, brushing his hair away from his forehead. The love between them, though unspoken, is palpable. In this small room, surrounded by the machines that have kept their son alive, Alex realizes that this moment is more than just about survival. It's about redemption, about rebuilding what was broken. "I didn't think this was possible," Catherine says quietly, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. "I thought we'd lost him." Alex shakes his head, walking over to her. "We're still here, Kate, and that's all that matters." She looks at him, really looks at him for the first time in a long while. The years of resentment and pain are still there, lurking just beneath the surface. But something has shifted. There's a glimmer of hope now, something that might one day lead them back to where they once were, or to something new. "I don't know what comes next," Catherine says, her voice trembling. "But I know that I can't do it alone. I need you, Alex." For a moment, Alex just stands there, watching her, his heart in his throat. He knows what she's asking for, what they both need. Trust. It won't come easily, not after everything. But in this room, with Lucas finally stable and the storm outside beginning to calm, Alex knows that he's ready to try, to fight for what matters. "I'm here, Kate," he says, his voice steady, even though his heart is racing. "I'm not going anywhere." Her eyes soften, and she takes a deep breath. There's no rush, no sudden promises, just a quiet understanding that things can begin to change, one step at a time. The next few weeks pass in a blur of recovery. Lucas grows stronger with each passing day, his color returning, his energy slowly returning as he regains his strength. Alex stays close, not just to Lucas, but to Catherine as well. They're still figuring things out, learning how to exist in a space where the past doesn't define them, where the future is still uncertain. But for the first time, they're taking it one day at a time. Alex's phone rings less and less. The board, the mergers, the competition, they're all still there. But the urgency isn't the same anymore. The world outside his family's world will still turn, but it no longer has the same hold on him. He's finally let go of the need to control everything, to hold it all together with sheer force of will. As the weather begins to warm, Alex and Catherine take Lucas home. The apartment, though still filled with remnants of their old life, feels different now. Fuller, somehow. The quiet moments are no longer fraught with tension. Instead, there's laughter. Small moments of joy, fleeting but precious. Catherine looks over at Alex one evening as they watch Lucas play in the living room, his small body full of life. Her gaze is soft. The years of distance between them not fully erased, but not as sharp as they once were. "We're doing this," she says softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "We are," Alex replies, his heart full. He doesn't know what the future holds, but for the first time in years, he feels ready to face it, not alone, but with the two people who matter most. The road ahead won't be easy. There will be struggles, challenges, and moments of doubt. But for now, in this moment, Alex knows that they're on the right path, together. As the sun sets over the city, casting long shadows across the streets, Alex stands at the window, looking out at the world he once tried so desperately to control. But now, the world feels different. It feels like he's in control of the most important thing: the people who love him, the family he's been given a second chance to protect. He hears Lucas laughing in the next room, and for the first time, Alex feels peace. And this time, he knows. He won't let it slip away. If you loved this story, kindly subscribe and comment where you are watching from.